Hi everybody. Been a long time since I've done one of these, couple weeks. Also been a long time since I've had a haircut, couple months. I think it was January. So I'm going hatless today. Not sure why. But for today's session, I'm gonna do my second Maslow-inspired whack-a-mole, which is where I just grab a bunch of random records and speak to them. Sort of in tribute to our friend the archivist, who has spent some time with Maslow and has recently gotten a pretty sweet job. She'll be moving to LA. So this is a tribute to her. So I'm gonna do 7 records at random. Stand up, go grab them from wherever, and I will close again with a record I wish everybody knew, and not as many people as I wish do know about. So let's give it a run. My dog, you can hear my dog's getting a little drink. He's been hanging pretty close to me lately, so you might see him in a bit. But let's get this started. Take one here, one from here. That feels like a double album. 2, 3, 4. I peeked there by accident, but I'm not going to change the pick, obviously. 5, 6, and I don't think I choose one from here. Well, now I'm going to 7. All right, let's see what we got. First one's a good choice. Just talking about this artist with friends of mine in New York. The Elvis Costello record, King of America. I'm pretty late to Costello, outside of his hits. Allison and, was it Radio? Is that the other big one? I know this is considered one of his best, King of America. Looks like it came out in '86. But he's, you know, if I were to do a session on artists that I don't know enough about that I think I should, Elvis Costello would be in there. So maybe this record I will go listen to today. I'm a big fan of, hold on one second. There's one of his records that I listen to pretty regularly. I liked Armed Forces. This year's Model, I love that one. But King of America, I can't say that I listen to all that much. Let's change that, as I'm going to put this in the rotation today. So that's 1. 2, this is a great one. The Townes Van Zandt record, Delta Mama Blues. Probably my favorite Townes record. Has Delta Mama Blues, obviously. Come Tomorrow. Rake, and an awesome album cover. This actually isn't my favorite. My favorite is the Townes Van Zandt self-titled, where he's sitting at a kitchen table. But this is a great one, reissued in 2007 by the wonderful Mississippi label Fat Possum, which is behind R.L. Burnside and a bunch of other great acts. A lot of Townes' records were either, I don't know if they were just never issued, or but a lot of them in the mid-2000s have been reissued, and in the 2010s. And this is a great one. I think this is the record that I first learned about Townes. My buddy Brian, who I mention here often, introduced me to Townes Van Zandt right around the same time he introduced me to Nick Drake. And I think he was playing me this record, Delta Mama Blues. I know he used to play this song all the time. Townes Van Zandt, what a songwriter. Speaking of songwriters, this very well may be my favorite Beatles-related record. So that's any record released by the Beatles or solo, or that's it, I think, or other bands like Wings. And this is Plastic Ono Band, the John Lennon record. It has the song God, which is which is definitely one of my favorite songs ever written. I think it's just a brilliant lyrically, it's absolutely brilliant. And the song is incredibly powerful. This looks like it's an original. I got it for $8 at Rasputin. This came out on Apple Records. Plastic Ono Band. It's a cool shot. On the back, John Lennon. This is a masterpiece. I said that with a lot of inflection. Next, I picked some gems. I'm gonna start with the back shot because this is one of my favorite photos of a band on an album cover or on the backside of an album cover. This is the second Zandt record, Straightaways. There's the album cover. I picked this up when it came out. I think it was a pretty limited vinyl release in '97 on Warner. It was reissued recently, I think for Record Store Day. Picked that up too. So I've now got two, but this is such an underrated Jay Farrar record. Overshadowed by Trace, which came out in '95 and was his debut. But this top to bottom is great. I saw them a bunch of times on this tour. Obviously the original lineup would make one more record together. But, and all three of those, Trace, Straightaways here, and Wide Swing Tremolo, the third and final record with the Boquists, Eric Haywood and Mike Hydorn. That was an incredible run by that band. They've made great records with the sort of different shake-up lineups. Let's have some of that coffee. He's had great records in the 2000s as well, but this version of Zandt will always be my favorite. And Straightaways is a great record. Next, this one's gonna throw me for a little bit of a, so I'm not even sure what's on this. Johnny Cash. Looks like this is American number 6, Ain't No Grave, of course produced by Rick Rubin, who produced a lot of the Johnny Cash records when he sort of had his second big return. I Love American Recordings, that record also produced by Rick Rubin, is a favorite of mine. This one, I don't know that I've listened to that much. Ain't No Grave, Redemption Day by Sheryl Crow, For the Good Times by Chris Christopherson. This is the period where Cash was really into covers. So all of these, this especially, this and the Elvis Costello are gonna go on the rotation for today. That's the backside of this. Johnny Cash. Next, wow, it is not, oh, it looks like they released it in two pieces of vinyl, but I don't believe this is a double album. The return of the often in and out return and departure and return of Gary Loris and Mark Olson. This is the one record that they did together, not as the Jayhawks. It's called Ready for the Flood. It's a really good record. I got this recently. It's quite hard to find. It came out on New West in 2009. It's a great start. The Rose Society, Bicycle, Turn Your Pretty Name Around, Saturday Morning on Sunday Street. I love this record. It's a little bit choppy, but that fits the relationship of Olson and Loris. Here's some of the great inside shots. There's Gary down there, Mark up top. I don't know if these guys are talking now. They've sort of been together in the Jayhawks on two separate turns. And now the Jayhawks are led by Gary Loris. Mark Olson does a lot of touring of Europe. I think he lived in Joshua Tree. I don't know if he still does. It looks like these shots were taken in Joshua Tree. That's the back image. And this was also produced by Chris Robinson of the Black Crowes, who I met once, not long ago, probably 3 years ago, at SFO. He was sitting at the table next to me. We were both having breakfast. I approached him. I'm not a big Black Crowes fan, although I saw them once in 1992 or 91 at the Beacon Theater in New York City, and it was the loudest show I've ever seen in my life, or heard in my life. We were right up front, fourth or fifth, sixth, seventh, somewhere in there, row. And it was like nothing I've ever experienced. I went with a friend of mine. We were back and forth running to the bathroom to get tissues to put in our ears. I remember we got out of the show and went to like a pizza place or something, and we had to scream. That's how I remember it. We were almost screaming to each other just to be able to hear one another. But it was a great show, but too loud. So Loris and Olson. Gary Loris has, during these times, he's been doing a show on Facebook every Wednesday night, so that's worth looking up. You can find it on the Jayhawks Facebook page, and it's really, really good. He's been doing it from, there's the dog. What's up, buddy? From Woodstock, New York. I think he's actually leaving Woodstock now to go to a new location in upstate New York, but I'll be tuning in tomorrow night to watch that. So check it out if you have the interest and time. This is a Rolling Stones album. I don't even know the name of it. It's called It's Only Rock and Roll, I guess after the song. This came out yeah, wow, I am stumped. So my buddy Scott in New York, maybe 15 years ago, he was cleaning out his apartment and he was getting rid of his vinyl, and he let me come up and just have at it. And this is one of the many records that I got on that day. I don't know that I've ever listened to this one. So it's got the song It's Only Rock and Roll. Maybe this is considered a very good or great Stones record. I'm not sure. So completely stumped. What do we have a year on here? 1974. So this is right after, or right around their best period. Maybe I'll give this one a spin today. It's Only Rock and Roll, Rolling Stones. Pretty cool cover, but I don't know what else is going on this one. And I have to check it out. So at least one of the 7 left me a little bit bewildered. So that's it for the Whack-A-Mole. And now to close, a record that I wish more people knew about, and this is a tremendous one, and it is the Richard Buckner record, The Hill. This was reissued by Merge. Originally came out in 2000. So all of these songs are based on a book by Edgar Lee Masters called The Spoon River Anthology, which I also own. I have a feeling I may have talked about this record in a previous video, but even if I did, it's worth bringing up again. It was originally released on CD as one song, so all these songs, it was just one track. They later broke them up, both digitally, I think on CD, and I guess on, however you want to say, on vinyl. But Richard Buckner, this is his 4th record, Bloomed. Yes, so he had a 4-album run that was perfect. Bloomed, his first one. Devotion and Doubt, which is my favorite Richard Buckner record, never released on vinyl. Then Since, which was his MCA debut, major label debut. And The Hill, which was, reissued by Merge. I can't recall who originally released it. I don't think it was MCA. I think he was 1 and out, or 2 and out. I think Devotion and Doubt was on MCA, and Since. But this is a wonderful collection of songs. I have read most of the anthology. I bought it many, many years ago. It's also an incredible book, but I can't recommend this record enough, as well as all Richard Buckner records through this one, the first four. He has a bunch of really strong ones after, but this was his peak period. That's it. Fairly short video, 15 minutes. Hope you are all doing okay. I hope at some point I will be able to get a haircut, although maybe not. Maybe I'll just let this roll for a couple of years. My dog is just hanging, and I will see you soon. Take care, folks.